Why
Yeah.
is it overrated? You know what I mean?
You're going to pay one as one way or another contribute here.
1 out of 100. Excellent. Some kind of fundamental
Guys, welcome to It's More Than Just Money, where we delve into conversations with industry leaders, entrepreneurs, and change makers that are making a difference in the South African business landscape. I always say to you that you need to grab a pen and paper every time conversations on It's More Than Just Money start. And you must remember, this particular conversation is brought to you by Atprop. Please go to atprop.co.za, especially if you are a property investor, a property owner, a real estate agent, or a real estate agency owner. You'll be able to list properties on Atprop for sale. You list properties for rental. You'll be able to manage your property investment portfolio. And if you are a service provider in the property investment space, that's where you are supposed to be. You are part of the ecosystem. Go register your services on the platform. And I must say thank you for the 3,000 plus people that have already joined Atprop, that are part of the community, that are part of the ecosystem. We wouldn't have been able to do this without you. Thank you for those of you who've already listed the properties. If you were here, I would say please give yourselves a round of applause. But since you are not here, we'll get back into the business of It's More Than Just Money and talk to today's guest. He didn't only build buildings. He's built resilience. Nick Katsapas is the founder of Africrest Properties. Look it up. They've got thousands and thousands of properties. A man who understands both the scale of vision and the pain of execution. Today we're going to dive into the real game behind high stakes property investing, the lessons learned from failure, and the moves that money alone can teach you. So certain things money cannot teach you. It doesn't matter how much money you make. You need to be able to learn the behind the scenes of that money making. So Nick, you've got a lot of public wins, and I'm sure before Africrest, there were some losses as well that you've been through. So I'm jumping right into it.
Lots of losses. And I always say you learn a hell of a lot more from your losses than your successes.
And why is that?
You make mistakes. You make a lot of mistakes. And if you're intelligent, you learn from those mistakes. My boss always said to me when I was an accountant, and he says, Nick, I made a big mistake. I said, I'm so sorry. He says, you can make as many mistakes as you want. Don't make the same mistake twice. So I took that lesson in business. And when I made mistakes, I said, okay, that's fine. I didn't have a mentor, no one to guide me. So I made a lot of mistakes. And those are the ones that also learned the most from, because you don't forget, especially when you lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
So when I started in the property business, I bought my first flat in 1994. And I think
1994.
a long time ago. And I think this also molded me and influenced me to this day.
How much was the property?
It was 65,000 Rand.
Yeah.
It was a flat in Church Street. But it molded me.
Pretoria?
Pretoria. But I did it on the eve, and I'm sure most of the guys listening probably weren't around that time. But at that time, as a white person, it was scary because we were transitioning from apartheid to democracy. The first time I could vote, it was the referendum, and the referendum was, do you want to vote for change or don't you want to vote for change? And obviously everyone wanted change because the vote was yes, and I was one of those. But it was still scary because everyone said, listen, white people are going to get killed, so you've got to leave, and it's one white, one bullet. It's going to be a genocide. And a lot of people did leave, and a lot of people were scared. And I thought, well, if I'm wrong, then I'm going to be dead. But if I'm right, I think I'll make a lot of money. So I went knocking on all the doors. Now, at that time,
people were selling at the time.
They were so scared. So I was an article clerk. I finished my articles, And I'd finished my degree. I was 21. So I did 4 years articles, 4 years degree at the same time. And so at 21, I could get a bond. And if you're an accountant, you were considered a very safe investment from a bank's point of view. So I went knocking on doors, and there was an old lady. And I said, she goes, can I help you? I said, I want to know if you want to sell your place. She goes, come inside. She goes, I'll sell it to you. But my boy, it's not a good idea. I said, look, let me be the decider of that. So I said, this is what I'll offer you. And I offered her a very low price, which she accepted. And we all know South Africa had great years, and she landed up being my tenant for 18 years.
He ended up living in the same property you bought from her.
For 18 years. And then I bought my second property, and under the same circumstances, and I also did well on that. And just a little segue, at the same time I bought, and this is an important lesson, so I'm trying to impart some of the things I learned. I bought a 100 Rand a month endowment policy at the time, 100 Rand a month for Old Mutual. It's a 20-year policy. Every year it went up. I'd pay 110 Rand, then it went up to 120 Rand, then it went up to 200 Rand. And eventually I was paying about 3,000 Rand a month on this policy, up till 20 years. My apartment, I paid 65,000 for it. Every month I'd weigh in a little bit. Every month I'd weigh in 400 Rand, 500 Rand. The next year, my rental went up. My bond stayed the same. After 5 years, I was getting money back. After 20 years, I said, okay, now it's time to sell the property. It's time to cash in my policy. By that time, I was getting 2,500 Rand a month on my property, and I was paying about 3,500 on my endowment policy.
You're what, 41 now?
No, this was, 41, yeah.
Yeah.
So I sell the property for 425,000
The one you bought for 65.
for 65.
Yeah.
And I've got all the cash flow for the last 9 years,
Yes.
positive cash flow. I go to Old Mutual, I'm thinking, well, now, it's amazing. I'm paying
Cash in
3,500.
millions
I'm
now.
going to cash in 3 million.
Yeah.
And I went there and they said, you've got 112,000. And then at that point I said, okay, well, sure. I knew property was better, but I didn't realize it was that much better. And one of the things that attracted me to properties is leverage, gearing. You know, you put down 10% on as a deposit in those days. The property goes up 10%, you make 100% on your money. But then I also learned the hard way that gearing can be great when times are good. But when times are bad, that same gearing can really get you hurt. So in the financial crisis was a big lesson for me.
2008.
Big lesson.
Yeah.
I had massive land holdings. And as you know, land, you're not getting any income.
Yeah. Just sitting.
And it's also like a zero coupon bond. Land goes up the quickest and can go down the quickest. Because if there's no economy, you can't do anything with the land. What's it worth? It's worth zero. No one wants it. It's a liability. And then all of a sudden the banks say, listen, you only borrowed 30 or 40% on this, but now we believe this property's gone down 90%.
Jeez.
Went on auction, I couldn't sell anything. And
Nobody was willing to buy at the time.
no, I didn't get a bid. And the other big lesson is if you're in a position to hold on, cycles always turns. Most of the time, it turns. So luckily I held on to my properties, just barely, because at one point I thought there's no ways I'm going to make it. And we got through to the other side. Joburg property still hasn't recovered fully for other reasons, but for the large part, we survived.
So I'll give you a two-pronged question, right? So when you realized that property outperformed the endowment funds that you're investing in, what was your first step? And then secondly, what was your first taste of business risk, And was it something you expected? And how did you overcome it?
Okay. So the endowment story was 20 years later. I realized long before that property I was going to make more money just because of gearing. So I knew that it would outperform. I just didn't think it would outperform that much. And when I was a stockbroker, someone said to me, Nick, don't buy an Old Mutual endowment policy, rather buy the Old Mutual share.
Yeah.
So early on, I realized that property was really going to be the way for me to make money because you could gear it up. You could also add value to a property and make money like it. You can't add value to an endowment policy, you know?
Flat rate.
Yeah, that's it. The only good thing about an endowment policy, it's a forced savings plan, but so can a property be a forced saving plan. Yeah. So I took many risks. I started with nothing. So when you start with nothing, you risk everything because
Why did you have nothing in pre-1994? You had white parents.
I had my
Apartheid
parents.
was good.
My grandparents were very, very wealthy.
Yeah.
He was the sixth wealthiest man in the country
At the time.
long before. And then he came to South Africa as an immigrant. And in those days, it was tough.
Was you saying he became wealthy?
He came in the
South Africa?
50s. He came in the 50s with no money.
Okay.
And in those days, it was very tough as a Greek person, couldn't speak English. It was also tough, you know, you weren't South African. But he was a super intelligent man. He became the biggest independent potato producer in the world, crowned the potato king. And he was a really legendary human being. There was 5 years of drought, a lot of other things. He lost all his money. My father left, went to the UK, and it was me, my 4 siblings, and my mom. And went to government school. I just managed to get university entrance, and I applied to the universities, and only one university accepted me.
UCT?
It was University of the Free State, one of the. It
You
was
asked.
only one. It was, and I said to my mom, I said, I got accepted for university, and then she had come to me. She said, "There's no money for you to go to university. There's no money for you. I'm sorry." And I didn't know what to do, so put on a suit, walked the streets, got as a job as an article clerk, getting 700 rand a month. Doing all the rural schools. We used to get 200-300 of those schools a year, and they just used to give those to me. And then with 750 rand, my first month's salary, I could buy 2 subjects at UNISA, and that's how I built up.
Oh, you didn't go to UF.
No, there was no money. So I had from my first salary and a little bit of money that I'd saved from working as a cashier, I bought 2 subjects at UNISA, which is all I could afford.
Yeah.
And as I progressed through articles, I earned a little bit more.
Did you feel underestimated around those days? I mean, you didn't know you would become the Nick Katsapas.
Yeah, I didn't. I was driven though. The one time my mother opened the fridge and there was no food to give us, and she started crying. And that day I made a conscious decision. I said, I'll never ever be poor. And everyone makes money, but they make money for different reasons. Different things drive them. And fear is a big driver. It's not a pleasant driver, but it's a very powerful driver. And I mean, I used to catch buses to work, 2 buses, one to Church Square, then from Church Square to my article job. And I used to sit in those buses and I just used to ruminate, and, you know. So fear is one of the strongest drivers in my experience to make money. And everyone's got a different reason, and it's always interesting to ask people, why do you want to make money? Sometimes it's because of fear, sometimes because they want to prove something to someone, sometimes it's they just want a good lifestyle, sometimes it's optionality, sometimes it's security or combination.
You ask everyone that question because you asked my daughter, 7-year-old, that question now. Why do you want to make money?
I always ask them, especially the people that I mentor, because if the reason you're making money is flawed, it's not going to be a pleasant journey. If you're making money to prove something to people, it's going to be a sad day, because at the end of the day, you might think people care, but after 20 years, people don't care. You want to do it to prove something to your parents. Your parents are going to be gone one day, So be really thoughtful and intentional about why you want to make money, so you can have a good relationship with money.
Yeah. So part of your journey has got a lot of risks involved. What was the biggest risk that then became the leverage for you to move to the next level, or what was the next level then?
So when I bought my first 2 flats, let me go back a step. When I was 20 years old, I was an article clerk, and one of my clients was selling their business, a pizzeria. And he was in a position because he couldn't He couldn't sell it because his books weren't correct, and he had to work at night at a casino. Got a great job. So I said, I'd saved up 20,000 rand selling clothes on the weekend and all sorts of things. And I said, I'll give you 20,000 rand. I'll buy half the business. We will work for 6 months. After 6 months, I'll close the shop every night. I'll do the cash ups. I'll do
What
the
are you
books.
selling?
Pizzas.
Pizzas. Yeah.
So I was working the day, and then I was studying, and then I was going to the pizzeria and closing every night. And I said, after 6 months, we'll work out our profit. I'll take it off what I owe you, and that's how I'll pay the business off. After 6 months, worked out we made 48,000 profit. I made half, he made half, so I took it off what I owed him. Long story short, he was gambling the money, didn't pay the expenses. The landlord phoned me, said, you haven't been paying the rent. I said, no, my partner's been paying the rent. Lost the business. I was suicidal. I'd lost every cent that I had. And I was really, I was the closest, I wasn't going to do it, but I was really thinking of taking my life because I wanted to be a millionaire by the time I was 21. I lost everything. And I was really, really devastated. Then it just gave me more fire. Then I picked myself up, and I really had the fire in me. And I carried on through life as a stockbroker. I enjoyed that when I was 23. And when I was about 25, someone came to me with an idea to invest in his business. And it was vending machines. And it was a hard card vending machines in those days that sold airtime. So I said, I'm not going to lend you money. I want to invest in your business. So I took a 50% share. And this is the business I told you about earlier. So when I said to him at the time, I said, Garrett, but this is a hard card with a number on it. We put in an envelope. We put the envelope in the machine. Someone buys the envelope, takes the card out, puts a number in the phone, throws the card away. It doesn't make sense. It's got to be an easier way of doing it. Long story short, we went to go find developers. And we said, look, we don't have the money to pay for the development, but we'll give you a percentage. And they said, okay, but you have to buy 50 machines from us over 5 years. Long story short, the business was super successful. In 18 months, we bought 650 machines from them. We were doing 250 million a year turnover with these vending machines. Because what people didn't realize, the most optimistic forecast on cell phone usage in South Africa right in the beginning was like 300,000 users. No one knew that prepaid would be so powerful, and that although people didn't have money, the cell phone was such an important status symbol, so important to have. And we had over 50 million users.
Were you competing with Blue Label Telecoms?
So we used to buy from them, and then what actually happened, we used to buy the airtime from them, and then what actually happened, the technology developers started competing against us because they saw the money we were making.
They saw that you're making money.
Making. And I was inexperienced at the time. The agreement that I had with him was very loose. It was a one-pager. I did that to try and save money, to save legal fees. And we went to court on an urgent basis. And
your developer competed with
us, yeah. So we went to sue him, and we asked for an urgent interdict to get him to stop doing what he's doing. And the judge, who was a new judge, said this matter is not urgent, it must go to trial. But in that we lost, because by the time we went to trial, they had developed in 9 different countries. They were doing $55 million a month turnover in all these districts. So by the time we went to court, they said, listen, we're not going to develop for you. So they settled with us, not a big amount. I think in those days, well, not a big amount relative to what they sold, but 16 million.
They gave you 16 million and they were making $55 million US dollars.
No, that was turnover, $55 million. So I don't know what profit they were making, but they sold that business, just the South African portion, to Blue Label. You'll remember those long yellow machines?
Yes, I remember those. We had them at Vets when I was at Vets.
Those were ours. It was Alphacom. That was my first Alphacom.
Ah, okay.
That was my first.
Africom, yeah.
That was my first successful
Was Howie
business.
your partner?
Sorry?
Was Howie your partner? 16.
No, but I know how. He was my partner.
Yeah.
No, it was Garen Zlotnik. He's still my partner today. And I was cursed a little bit with early great success because it was an amazing business, and I got confused between genius and luck. We were lucky. We were lucky in the
Why do you say you were lucky? Why do you not think it was genius?
Because we hit an industry that was growing so fast. I don't think anyone had seen the growth like in the prepaid industry that we had seen. We had great technology from technology partners. They were actually good partners in terms of their technology. They just went good in what they did to us later. So I've never seen a business, 3 businesses in my entire history, and I've invested in over 80.
Over 80 businesses.
That I've seen in that position that have got market dominance, margin flexibility. You could charge what you wanted with the only ones who had this, and insatiable demand. Don't get that easy. Difficult to get. The truth is, everyone knows the statistic. If you open 10 businesses, 9 fail.
Yeah.
So to have one amazing business like that, you've got to be very, very lucky and also hard work.
But how do you deal with the failure? Well, that I don't consider it failure, but the betrayal around that. You had been in a business where you were betrayed, you were suicidal. Now you've built this multi-million rand business, 250 million maybe in 1999 was a lot of money, right? But then now you've lost market share because somebody
We lost the business.
you lost the
essentially.
business completely.
Yeah.
So from 250 million turnover to basically zero. How do you build back from there?
Well, luckily I had many
What
other
sort of
things.
mindset do you need to have?
So because we were making so much cash in that business, we had invested in other businesses in the time, and I used that to really bolster my property portfolio. So by the time that happened, because remember, they only paid us 16 million, but we were making a lot of money in the meantime.
Before,
And we
yeah.
used that cash to invest in other business and grow my property portfolio.
Were the margins high in that business?
Yeah, and that time was 16% was your gross margin on prepaid. Now it's about 4%.
Sure.
The 4%. Not only that, the machine was structured in such a way that you buy the machine from me, then you give me cash that I'll hold for you. So now I
It's
sell
like
the
a
machine
security deposit.
yeah, like a positive balance in your account. So I'm selling the machine for 50,000 and you give me 30,000. So I've got 80,000 in cash flow and the cost of the machine's only 30,000. So I've got 50,000 positive cash every time someone comes to buy a machine from me.
Sure. 50,000 upfront. They're giving you 50K.
Basically.
Upfront, 50K.
It was a crazy business.
And everybody wanted these vending machines.
Everybody.
everywhere,
We had
like
200
from spaza
operators.
shops.
Everywhere. I remember we had one machine that was doing over 200,000 in turnover in a suite from heaven in Sandton.
Sweets from heaven. Denny K.
I don't know if Danny K had it then. This was long ago.
Ah, okay. So let's talk about Africrest. And before we do that, guys, remember this conversation is brought to you by Atprop. Please head out to atprop.co.za, especially if you are looking for a property to buy or rent, or you want to list a property for sale or rental, or if you want to manage your property investment portfolio, send leases to your tenants, have reports generated for you. And also, if you're a service provider in the property investment or property space, you're a plumber, electrician, maintenance guy, builder, please list your services on the platform and you'll have access to the thousands of property professionals and people that are on the platform. So now we're talking Africrest. So you've made all this money, you've built businesses. What inspired its creation? Why didn't you just say, I'll never open an empty fridge ever again? Let me just relax. I don't have to build anything. What then inspired you to start Africrest, and how did you know the market was ready for it?
So
You were selling airtime.
So I did many things at the same time. When I was a stockbroker, I had the investments in different businesses. So it wasn't all linear. And although I made a lot of money
at the same time.
and like I say, in the financial crisis, although on paper I was wealthy, I was actually in theory insolvent because the banks were calling in debt and I couldn't sell anything. So it wasn't a straight line up. And my style is the same as my poker style. I don't know if you know, I'm the All Africa poker champion. Yeah. And I used to play a very loose, aggressive style. So that means I played every hand nearly, and I played it super aggressively. And when you play like that, you've got a very volatile chip stack. Chip leader, small stack, chip leader, small, and that was my life. So I've learned from that now, and now I try and be disciplined to say, don't say yes to every deal. And you don't have to bet the baby each time. So my life wasn't, like I say, it wasn't linear. And Africrest essentially started when I bought my first flat. Because then when I bought my second flat, then when...
Your first flat when you were 21?
21. That's when I started my property portfolio.
Yeah.
So these things...
But it was not named Africrest.
Wasn't, no.
Yeah.
It wasn't. Then what happened was, and I joined up with my uncle, with property. We started very small on the commercial side, and we built that, and then we made good money with Alphacom. But although we were making money, I would always overgear. I would always look for more. And in those days, it was much easier with the banks than now.
There was no NCR at the time.
No, you didn't have to prove income. You just take your balance sheet. Listen, I'm worth 5 million. You go to this bank, that bank, and that bank, and
At
on
the
that 5
same
million, you borrow from everybody.
They give you 5.
They didn't care about serviceability. They didn't want to know. Now they say, how are you going to pay this loan? In those days, they didn't. So when I bought Rivonia Junction, which was here in Rivonia, I don't know if you know it,
Rivonia Junction.
across the road from the McDonald's.
Yes.
There was a first,
Oh, yeah. I know where that is.
first shopping center I bought when I was 26. So I bought that thing with 100% gearing because it was being sold by...
They financed 100%.
I'll tell you why. Because it was a syndicate that was selling it. So I went to go see them. I said, I want to sell. They said, look, we want to sell. We got 80%, 20% owned by Nedbank, and they don't want to sell because they're taking a big loss. So I said, okay. I'll go into Nedbank. I said, look, I'm going to buy this property, and I'm going to work it. I'm going to turn it around, and you guys are going to be sitting in the office doing nothing.
I'll do the work.
I'll do the work, but I want 100% funding. I said, okay. But on 100% funding, you can't make your bond payments. I did not know how I was going to make my first bond payment. I didn't know. And the day I bought the property, I got a summons from the city council suing me and one of my tenants, who was a nightclub, Chocolate Box, because they didn't have a license. So not only didn't I not have money to pay the bond, now I've got a legal
Zoning
case,
problems.
and now there's one tenant's closed down.
Sure.
And those were the risks I took, and then just go to the bank, say, we've got problems, can you pay a little bit now and a little bit later? And I kept on pushing the boundaries. And that's how I grew the portfolio, which at the time was multi-sectoral. We had shopping centres, we had light industrial, we had office, we had everything. And then what happened was I met a young guy, came to me, he was 21, Justin Blend, and we started doing some
Is he
stuff
the current
together.
CEO now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He joined here. We got a flat structure. So, and he had come to me and said, listen, he's looking at stuff in Braamfontein. So we spent a lot of time in Braamfontein. Those were actually good years because we were the pioneers there. And we'd buy empty buildings and try and fill them up. And
It wasn't student accommodation then?
76 Jutta Street. We did a deal with Max Marcella, NBC. Do you remember NBC?
Max Marcella, yeah.
Max Marcella, yeah, absolute legend. So we bought that building with him. He was our partner. That building we made probably 20x on our money. Where the neighborhoods market is across the road.
Yeah.
That was our building. We sold that to Terem Levy.
Jeez.
The Damlin campus in town.
Yeah.
We owned that too.
In Braam, the one in Braam.
Braam, the big one,
Yeah.
in Braam. And all those were unique stories and challenges, and me and Justin really had good partnership. And the one thing that I can also share with the audience, because we want entrepreneurs to succeed. And I go back to the most important point when I meet an entrepreneur. He says, tell me the secret. I say, there are no secrets, but I'll tell you the recipe. And it's simple. If you want to be an entrepreneur, number one, you need an appetite for risk. If you don't have an appetite for risk, it's not something you learn. Maybe you can learn it a little bit, but either people have got it or they don't. And if you don't go into business, because there's nothing worse than being in a risky situation and being under pressure and you can't deal with it. Number one. Number two, know yourself. Know your strengths, but more important, know your weaknesses. I've always had partners. Some people don't need partners. I've had partners because I've got some very strong points, but some real serious blind spots. And with me and Justin, we were really complementary. His strengths are my weaknesses are his strengths. So if you can identify that in a partner, you could really, 1 and 1 can be 5. So me and Justin had a very good run in a very tough time, because everyone knows what happened to the property market and even South Africa. It's very difficult to operate in an economy that's growing at 1% and your population is growing at 2%, because actually we're getting poorer every year.
Yeah, because you're getting more people being born
and
The
the
GDP is not
money
keeping up.
money is not able to keep up with the number of people. So what do you think would be the best solution if we're talking now to the young entrepreneurs, or even people that are not entrepreneurs and they might be part of the solution? What do you think it would be?
In South Africa, I think entrepreneurs is one big thing, but the government's also got to create a landscape where it's easy to operate. Very difficult to be a developer when you've got land. We've got land here in Blue Hills. We've got no water, got no electricity,
There's no services.
no services.
Yeah.
Development is a building block of an economy.
Yes.
Because if I can't build a McDonald's, I'm not doing the turnover. If I can't build a shopping center, I can't create a place for all those shops. So service delivery is really, really important. And I think there's so many able young people out in South Africa that really need to come up into the system in politics. Politics mustn't be seen as business. We all need to do our bit to help the country. And I think there's some great young people out there who should come into politics and help change the country.
So what's the hardest part about building a high growth company, especially one that's probably maybe growing fast, and you need to keep up with it? What do you need to do there? What's the hardest part?
The hardest part with all businesses is capital. Capital is the hardest thing because the business grows, and normally every business, apart from Alphacom, has got a working capital cycle.
You love Africom.
I love it.
You had a good run there.
The more business we did,
Yeah.
the more cash we had. Business isn't like that. If I say to you, witness, here's a great business, come buy this bicycle business. I think it's an amazing business. So I buy my stock from China in January. I pay for the stock in February. It arrives in March. I send it to my stores. They get it end of March.
Yeah.
And now they've got 3 months to pay me. So now in June. So now from February to June, it's 5 months.
You're waiting for the cash.
5 months. So for every rand of turnover I do, I need 5 times that in capital. So you find the businesses that grow too quickly, they don't have the capital to keep up.
Yes, they've got more people demanding the stuff, but they're not able
You don't have the
to
capital.
supply.
You don't have the capital to grow the business.
Yeah.
So that is always the biggest challenges in the businesses that I looked at historically that failed. Those were the difficult ones. And it's very important to look at the business model and understand what you're getting into. Some guys are like, but I don't understand why I need all this cash. I'm like, because you've got a working capital cycle of 8 months.
Sure. Before you start turning in any rand.
Yeah. So the faster you grow, the more capital you need. And the second thing is scaling is people. People is to find the right people. That's a big challenge, and your processes have got to be right, and understanding of people have got to be right. Because if you've got the right people in your business, as you know, it's always going to be easier.
Yeah. Did playing poker shape your mindset in terms of how you do things?
Yes.
Playing poker.
For sure.
And you've traveled over 123 countries. What did that do to your mindset? So I'm thinking, apart from business, what is it that contributed to the mindset? Because I know it's not just one thing. Like you said, it's not linear. So if it's not linear, there must be a couple of other things that added to everything. I mean, you were in Sierra Leone 7 days. You got burnt by the sun. Luckily, you didn't get bitten by a snake.
So traveling, it's not so much the country, it's the people you meet.
Yeah.
The people you meet. So I was in Hawaii and I walk into this coffee shop and I see this very interesting old guy. He must be 76. So I said, talking to him, name's Ari Kiryadi. Avi Kiryadi is a famous artist. I didn't know that.
You didn't know at the time?
Didn't know it. I said, yeah, can I please give me your number? I want to meet you again. He says, no. He says, I don't have a phone. He says, but I'm here at Paya Coffee Company from 8 till 9. 9 till 11, I walk on the beach, and 11, I'm at my house. You can come anytime. So I go see him at his house, and I'm just cutting the story short. And he's smoking a weed. He says, can I give you some? I said, look,
weed?
I don't do weed, but I'll walk with you in your garden. And as a property guy, I look at this, I'm like, wow, what an amazing, beautiful property. And I said to him, Avi, when did you buy this property? It's beautiful. He says, Nick, I don't own this property. I don't buy it. I said, why don't you buy it so you can own it? And he stopped and he looked at me and he says, if I buy the property, will I own the property or the property own me? And all of a sudden, it was a big mind shift for me because I'm a property owner, and I still believe it's good to own property. But for some people, property owns them. And he says, Nick, I want to be able to leave in a year or 2 years' time, and I don't want this property to own me. Yeah, and that goes back to the point of you must know what you want. So you can't just say, I want to own property. You just say, I want to own property, but you want to travel the world and you want to be flexible, you know. But if you're going to be in one place, I love property. I think it's great. I think as long as there's a growing population, property is amazing. You can see it. It's measurable.
Oh, you own thousands of properties, but you also don't believe in owning one that you stay in.
It was just...
Did it come from the old man?
Just an important point to remember. It's great to own property, but not for everybody. This old man didn't want to be in one place. He wanted to be in different places. So he didn't want his assets to own him. So that's fine, then don't get involved in property. So it's just, I'm just highlighting that property may not be for everyone. There's not one recipe for everybody. I loved property. It made me money. And then what happened was, so me and Justin carried on in our business. We grew. And then in 2017, I had said I wanted to slow down a little bit, wanted to do a bit more traveling, and we brought in two young guys. They had a business called Standout, Grant Friedman, Greg Blend. And then we formed, Justin formed Africrest 2013, because I had my property company, which was then Jinmaro. Justin had his property company, which was Rejuvenate. We worked together.
Rejuvenate,
yeah, we worked together, and then eventually we said, okay, let's form Africrest in 2013, with no specific intention to go into residential. At the time, we were just a multi-sectoral property holding company.
Yeah, industrial,
everything, but
commercial,
focusing a little bit more on commercial.
anything
offices.
that made money.
We were opportunistic. Whatever it is, we looked at everything. That was our credo, opportunistic. And then when Greg and Grant came in, we had the expertise on the commercial side. We knew the sellers. They liked the residential, and then the market opened up. And that's important to be able to be front-footed and see when the market creates an opportunity. And we had these empty buildings you could do nothing with. We had insatiable demand on the residential side. We had the legacy infrastructure from apartheid, where you have people living so far away from where their work is. And Africrest came with an amazing model. Now, all of a sudden, we're taking a building that's useless. In fact, it's a liability. Converting into apartments. We're bringing young people from far away to the places where they work. We give them respectable, amazing facilities at 6,000 and 7,000 rand a month.
Yeah, if a guy was staying far, travel costs, petrol, maybe he needs to buy a car even.
No, it doesn't have that anymore. And now it's got a fully equipped gym. There's work from home facilities. It's got a swimming pool. Amazing. So it was just an amazing model. And it's just, if you can really fill a need in the market, you're going to do well. And, somewhat operationally in the businesses. And you can also, you can have a great business and you have a great opportunity, but if your execution is not there, and my partners really execute well, and the business is growing.
And they execute very fast.
Very fast.
So you also seem to think just beyond buildings. Is there anything that drives your business instincts today?
People.
Is it vision for the people, returns, legacy? You always talk about legacy.
It's people on different levels. Number one, they've got people in terms of, can I work with this guy and have a coffee with him every day? So now I do a little bit of a lot of investments. So I meet a guy, like, can I have a coffee with this guy every day? Tick the box, people. Number one, is this person's value system, is it aligned with me? If he wants to go and sell drugs and murder people to make money, he's not my man. But if he agrees with me, let's add value to our community, our country, and make money, then we're on the same page. And then obviously all the other things. You've got to be driven. I look at his strengths, I look at his weaknesses. So for me, it's all about people. Then I say, okay, let's look at the business model.
That's amazing. Guys, remember, this conversation is brought to you by Atprop. Please head out to atprop.co.za and you'll get all the information about what Atprop is all about. We're adding value, especially to the property industry. It's an ecosystem that we've built for you, even if you are in the township, you'll be able to list your room on the platform for rental. If you're selling, you'll be able to sell on the platform, list property for sale, and you'll be able to manage your property investment portfolio using the platform. And if you're a service provider, a plumber, an electrician, a maintenance guy, you'll be able to also list on the platform so that your services are made available to the property owners. Now tell me something. Everybody sees now the skyscrapers, the nice buildings. Sometimes when I pass in Sunning Hill or I pass in Randburg and I see one of your buildings, I'm like, Nick, but let's talk about the collapse, the moment you failed and nearly lost everything.
So the big one was the financial crisis. After that with Justin, I didn't have too many more because he's, like I say, he really fills a void that I have.
Yeah.
And I had a huge appetite for risk, and I wasn't scared to bet the baby. And when me and Justin became partners, he said to me, Nick, and we never lost on a deal. We lost out on a few deals in retrospect, but we never lost on a deal.
Wow.
But also when you get to a point, then it's not worth risking everything, right? Because you risk money that you need to make money that you don't need. You got to.
Sure. You risk money that you need to make money that you don't need. So you've got a nice portfolio that's growing, and then you're risking the portfolio to make money that you don't even need now.
Yeah, so
is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So at the time, but the business was already sizable. I took the big risks between 20 and 30. And I think as an entrepreneur, you have to take risks. But also when you get older, then you get to that point. So I've made this money which I need. I want to risk it to make money that I don't need. I take moderate risks. And so thank goodness, since 2009, I haven't had any near-death experiences.
But when you were in the trenches, right, what kept you grounded and focused? Because a lot of people don't know how to, when they're in the hard times, how to stay focused and stay grounded.
I didn't stay focused all the time.
Yeah.
I had bought my first Lamborghini when I was 27.
Yeah.
My head was in the clouds, got a little bit ahead of myself. But life pulls you back. Life pulls you back. So I wasn't grounded all the time. Got ahead of myself, thought I was invincible. And no one's invincible. It's really important.
Does buying a Lamborghini mean you're not grounded?
Well, there's a lot of other things,
Okay.
Partying,
it comes with other things.
then you think that money's, it's always going to be there, and you take things for granted. You think invincible, and you take the good times for granted. Not always there. The hard times fall on everybody. And I remember I used to be so angry with my grandfather that, he had lost everything. How does a man so wealthy, several billions, to lose everything? And then when the financial crisis hit, I never thought I could lose my money, not because of how much I had, but I was so diversified. I had different property interests in different cities, in different businesses across sectors. I had 16 different businesses. I could never lose everything. And then something in left field comes, like 2009, or COVID. COVID, incidentally, was good for us, but you can have these things. And then it wasn't only one thing. There were 18 things that happened to me. At the time, I took a huge position on the stock market that I lost on. I had 2 massive deals that I'd signed that fell through. It was 18 things. And I'll never forget, like, closing my eyes and just apologizing to my grandfather. I said, I realize now, Granddad, doesn't matter who you are. No one's infallible. I realize now that you lost because things like that happen. No one's invincible. That was a big learning for me.
What does real fundraising look like when the stakes are tens or hundreds of millions?
So it's not so much the quantum, but it's the environment. So my hardest fundraising was in the crisis. When the crisis happened and I decided that I'm going to survive, and me and Justin were doing things together, I said, well, we're on the ropes now. If we just defend ourselves, all we're going to do is going to get through the round. We've got to throw a couple of punches. Otherwise, we're never going to win the round. Yeah. So under this intense pressure, to go raise money is very difficult. So we went to Sasfin. We found one of the buildings where the market is in Johannesburg. What's that market called? Adam Levy's one in Jutta Street. Neighborhoods Market, yeah.
Neighborhoods Market, yeah.
That building came up for sale. So we needed money. We went to Sasfin. I said, okay, well, how much equity are you going to put? I said, no, we don't have equity. But then how are you going to buy the building? I said, well, we want to get 100% funding. And we'll give you a profit share. So I said, okay. But then we want a minimum return. A minimum return. So we said, okay, we'll give you a minimum return. We'll guarantee you a 30% IRR, which was ridiculous. But then we want a 50% performance fee.
What did that mean?
So that means they gave us 100% of the funding. So when we sold the building, any money that they put down, we had to give them 30% return per annum.
After sale?
After sale.
Jeez.
And all the money, which is
For how long?
It didn't matter.
Indefinitely?
Until we sold, there was a 30% IRR that we had to give them, which was ridiculous. Because every 3 years, the building's got to double.
Yes.
But we just knew that we're buying at such a good level. So we bought the building. We never even took transfer. We sold it to Adam Levy. We made a profit. And Sasfin had to pay us 50% of the profits without putting down the cent.
Jeez.
And then after they said,
So was that like in a form as a back-to-back deal or what?
Well, it wasn't back-to-back. It was close. We bought the building from Samro, and they were so useless at the time with their admin, it took a year for the building to transfer, so we didn't have to put money down. And in the meantime, we did what we needed to do, and we had sold
to
the
the building, like
yeah, we just fixed up a little bit,
Reynolds.
just in the front, the lobbies, and when we sold it to Adam Levy.
so
But-
on paper it belonged to you. The transfer wasn't happening
the
because of
transfer happened.
admin.
Yeah, because of admin.
Yeah.
They hadn't got the clearance certificates and all those things, but we had signed and we controlled the property.
Yeah.
So the delay was because of the seller.
So what did the contract look like in that case? I mean, you've signed. I guess it wasn't a normal OTP.
That's a normal OTP, so it's okay. We buy the property, we've got 30 days DD, 30 days to get funding, and then we'll transfer. But we'll only transfer if we get a clearance certificate from the seller.
Yes.
But sometimes the seller's rates and taxes and the municipal accounts were
Yeah,
so
they're
messed
high.
they couldn't give it, they couldn't get a clearance
the
certificate.
millions.
Yeah, because it was messed up. And they're not property people. So it took them a year to get the clearance certificate. We sold the property.
But in the meantime,
The property
you had a
values.
clause that allowed you to take occupation,
Yeah.
do the renos.
And they don't always give it to you, but often we're just busy buying a building now where we say, okay, on finance approval, we want occupation of the building. Africrest, sometimes we get even before.
Before even finance approval?
Because we've got a good reputation.
Sure.
So we can-
Sure. Wow. And then what have you learned about capital partners? What works, what doesn't?
So Africrest, we were quite lucky. We didn't have capital partners. It was just me and Justin.
Yeah.
And our
The combination of the
our-
portfolio.
and our working partners. But I've had partners before. And the important thing with partners is you've got to make sure that you've got the same vision, you're on the same page, and you've got the same time horizon. There's nothing worse when you bring capital partners and you've got a 10-year vision, and after 4 years they say, but hang on a second, we want an exit. You don't want that. So even now, for some of the businesses that we invested in and we raised capital, I say to my partners, make sure your cap table is right. Try to find partners who can add value, same value system as you, and same investment time horizon.
So what advice would you give then to entrepreneurs who want to raise capital but don't have rich networks?
Yeah, it's a difficult one in South Africa.
Yeah.
It's a difficult one.
It's tough, eh?
It is tough, but I can tell you what, it's improved a hell of a lot. In my younger days, there were no VCs. Now there's some VCs. There was some great funding for young entrepreneurs. I mean, the National Empowerment Fund is there. There's a couple of other VCs, impact funding. You can, if you go out and look, there are places. But the easiest is always friends and family. But not everyone's got friends and family who have got money.
Rich, yeah.
Who've got money. But I always say,
Even if you do, maybe they just want to hold on to their money.
if you find a good deal,
Yeah.
that's your first thing. You can normally find money if you find a good deal.
That's true. Yeah, that's very true. So how do you know when to scale and when to pause?
It's a function of the market, right? If you can scale, you can want to scale as much as you want, but if there's no market demand, you're not going to scale. So we tried to scale with offices, but we were really battling. The office market was really, really difficult, and we were swimming upstream.
Yeah.
Really swimming upstream. So there you arrange the funding, you've got the capacity, but you can't find the buildings and the tenant, because that's what we're looking for. We're looking for buildings and for tenants. But in the market, where vacancies are just going up and up and up, and the economy is actually, if you actually take the economy and you take mining out of it and take it, actually declining, it's very difficult.
Sure.
So, yeah.
So you own a school called Centennial Schools. What's the philosophy behind the school, and what was the reason for getting into the education business, and what's the long-term impact of what the school is going to create in the country?
So sure.
Because a school can create stupid people. Right?
Can get. I can. So my partner Sean, I say it's about people. So I met him as a tenant, and I really liked him. I liked his philosophy. His philosophy was very simple. Say we're going through our fifth revolution. Our fifth revolution we're going through. But when you go into school, you're sitting in the same desk your grandfather sat at. Education hasn't changed. Doesn't make sense. How can education be the same? Everything else is changing. So he was intent on on changing the pedagogy. How do we teach kids? What's the environment? Is it right to sit in the same chair for 8 hours a day or 7 hours a day? So if you walk into a Centennial classroom, there's mobile chairs, mobile desks, there's bean bags, there's a place to stand, there's a place to sit. The classroom keeps moving around, the teacher doesn't always stand in front of you. We've got chill out zones. Every kid has got to use Microsoft.
I've been there. I saw a gaming center.
We're big on gaming, embrace gaming.
Why is that a big thing? Because I saw like the equipment that's there, there's a lot of investment that went into it.
So all kids are going to game. So instead of fighting it, we embrace it. We use game as a learning method, so we can incorporate some of the syllabuses into the gaming. But gaming in and of itself is not bad. And we say to the kids, okay, you want a game, no problem, but you've got to do yoga, you've got to do CrossFit, you also got to get out there.
Wow. And sports? What sort of sports?
So we've got our philosophy is this: only 40% of kids use sports fields. So now to go build a school that costs 100 million rand, so you've got an Olympic-sized swimming pool and a tennis court and a soccer field, and only 40% are using it, why must the 60% pay? So we we'll give you a school, we give you the best education. You want to play sports? We'll offer CrossFit, and we've got basketball, and we've got a multi-sport court. But if you really want to take the sport seriously, go to a club and pay for that separately. But what we're going to focus on is great education.
Is entrepreneurship entrenched in what they do? I mean,
Yep.
They've got you as their leader somehow.
Every kid does entrepreneurship.
From what grade?
From grade 6.
From grade 6.
So we use a Canadian model. It's a simulation. So you start with a lemonade stand, and you build up. And eventually, matric, you're running a multinational business, making decisions about who to employ, and all those things. Yeah. So we also teach kids about social media, how to behave on social media. We teach them how to make videos that they can post on YouTube. The world's changing.
And what grade? You started grade 1?
So we've got 2 models. So the model now in Centennial is from grade 6. And we've got another model that starts from grade 1, but we haven't built our first school. We may expand the Sunny Hill School for grade 1.
The Sunny Hill School.
The Sunny Hill School.
Yeah.
But we're looking to grow in the Western Cape and other areas also.
What's the grand vision? To cover the whole of South Africa, or just metropolitan areas?
We're not going to be a school, a mass market school like Sparks, for instance, but 8, 9, 10 schools we can get to. Our ticket price is quite high. Unfortunately, it's
what are the fees?
It's about between 8,000 and 10,000, depending on the grade, which is a big fee. Yeah. So it's on at the top. Red Hill and those are, I think, closer to 18, 20, nearly double.
Yeah.
But Sparks and other schools are about 4, so half. So we're somewhere in the middle.
Right. So
I speak to Sean often about that, to find a model to teach people who can't afford that. Why shouldn't they have access to great education?
Yes. Do you teach property investing there?
No.
You know, my daughter said to you, she wants to learn property. That's what you asked her.
But listen, she's going to learn from you.
Yeah.
And listen, I want to talk about your business because that's really, really a great business. And I'm so happy that you started that because as a property guy, when I got into the business, I didn't have that.
Yeah.
I didn't have that. It's an opportunity for young guys to use technology to help them a little bit, you know, and eventually a lot. So you need to really
You know what's
continue
funny?
putting effort into that.
You know what's funny? I've got a question for you around that.
Yeah.
So, guys, the business is talking about is obviously Atprop, atprop.co.za. If you are a property investor, a property owner, real estate agent, please head out to atprop.co.za. You'll be able to list a property for sale, a property for rental. And if you're looking for a property to either buy or rent, Atprop is the right place for you. You'll be able to also, if you've got a property investment portfolio, be able to manage your portfolio, manage your tenants. And if you're a service provider in the property space, a maintenance guy, painter, and electrician, you'll be able to list your services there and you'll have access to the great number of property investors and professionals there. So you've scaled Africrest and been in the trenches of real estate and venture building. If you were looking at a platform like Atprop, today, what would you focus on to scale it to 100,000 plus users or national adoption?
Okay. So what you've got is a great product. It offers a service. I would enhance that. It would be amazing if you could have financial models there for young guys. Say, plug in your property price, your rental, your escalation. Let me show you what happens after 5 years. You know, tools. Focus on tools that will help young guys and expand on that offering that you got. We never had that when I started. We couldn't go into a platform and look for properties. It was a nightmare. You'd have to look in the newspaper. You have to phone agents. So you've got all of those things. So focus on the tools to help young guys in property. You've got a great foundation. You may just expand on that. And I think the most important thing is to user feedback. You know.
Oh, thank you for that. So let's talk about legacy. You know. What legacy do you want to leave for your kids or the next generation for them to inherit, you know, from your business or from your mindset?
What do you mean mindset?
Mindset. Why can't you just give them the money?
I'm actually
Are you saying it's more than just money?
No, actually, no. I mean, I like what Buffett said. Was it Buffett or Bill Gates? He said, leave your kids enough to do something. Don't leave them enough to do nothing.
Sure. Sure.
And I've seen many, you know, people talk about generational wealth. You know what? If I was angry with my grandfather that he never left me money. But if he
didn't leave you,
he didn't. I was angry with him. Why'd you leave me money? But you know what? In hindsight, he would have taken away my privilege of buying my first car, the privilege and honor of buying my first flat. If it was all given to me. Listen, I say that now. It's easy to say now because I've got everything. Maybe if I had no food, I'd still be cross with my grandparents. But you know, life's a journey, and you know, look back at my life. Like those hardships are beautiful. I didn't think so at the time. So I think a big message for the entrepreneurs is like enjoy the grind. I know it's easy to say so when the grind's finished, but enjoy the grind. Because one day you'll get to a point of success and you'll say, hey, those are the great times, man. Those are the great times when I'm building my business, trying to get the guys into my podcast, and I was hustling. Now the money's in the bank, it's rolling in, the excitement's gone, and you'll miss those days. So
sure.
I'm not saying live in those days forever.
Those days?
I think back, I remember me and Justin, you know, walking up and down buildings, knocking on tenants' doors, trying to get them to sign with us. Those are exciting times, you know. And I'm not saying you've got to stay in them forever, but appreciate them when you're in them. Don't hate them, because one day you'll look back and you'll appreciate them.
Well, so how do you mentor others, or do you prefer to lead by example?
I've tried to mentor. I've been quite a remarkable failure at mentoring.
Are you saying you're terrible mentees?
I'm not a great mentor, and I'll continue trying to change it. I think the biggest problem I had when I was a mentor, I saw the world through my own eyes. So the one day in my shopping center, there was this young guy. He came out of Cosmo City and he was walking around the shopping center offering
The
people.
Rivonia one?
No, this was North Riding Shopping
Not Riding Shopping Center.
This guy walking around there offering people to clean his cars. And I said to him, my man, I said, hey, you want to offer guys to clean their cars? Are you paying rent here? He says, I'm not paying rent. I said, this is my shopping center. He goes, hey, please. And he wanted to run away. I said, no, come here. Come here. I said, I'll do a deal with you. And I started speaking to him, a well-spoken guy. We're still friends today. And I said, you can set up a car wash here, and I'll set it up for you. And I did the same with a guy with a dance studio. But where I fell short I saw the world through my own eyes. I thought if someone did that to me, then I'd just make it work. But a lot of people don't have that. When you talk about privilege, the privilege I did have was that my father was a businessman, my grandfather was a businessman, my great-grandfather was a businessman, my great-great-grandfather was a trader. So it's in our genes.
Yeah.
It's in our genes, and there's definitely something to that. So my failure was giving this guy an opportunity, Nick, but you didn't support him properly. You think all you had to do was set up the car wash or set up the dance studio, but you should have helped him. You should have helped him with the finances. You should have helped him on a more granular level. Don't see the world through your own eyes. The nitty-gritty, the small things. So hopefully I'll be a better mentor in time.
So do you now prefer to lead by example? And if so, how do you do so?
I think for me the biggest thing is you can't let money define you. Don't let money define you. You don't want to be that guy that, because you're the Lamborghini.
I'm sure there's a guy watching now saying, I want to find out for myself.
You don't want it to define. You want to make money, but respect. You want to respect others. You want to respect money. Money is like a jealous lover. If you don't look after her, she'll leave you. She will leave you.
Sure.
So you've got to be respectful to money, respectful to others while you're making money. And you never want to look back and say, I feel bad about the way that I made money. And I think that for me, if I can teach a young person that, I've succeeded.
So what excites you right now? Any new industries, ideas, or plays you're exploring?
It's a very interesting question, because I actually got to a point in my life where it's like, okay, I don't want to make more money just for the sake of it. What inspires me? It was quite difficult, so I started learning Zulu, I started playing piano, I started playing tennis. But those things can't really, they can't inspire you. You need purpose. So I decided this year, I've got a young family, it's taken up my time. So I decided I'm going to start investing again and continue investing in impact businesses and in the right people. And that's it. Now, I've spent a bit of time in politics last year.
You did politics?
Yeah, it's just,
Where, locally or in Cape Town?
I just looked at the landscape, and it was very sad for me. In South Africa, where we got to now, we had some great years. Under Mbeki, we had, such a low unemployment. Mandela, what happened to us? I've been to 123 countries. Believe me when I tell you, this is the best country in the world. We're a beautiful country. We've got beautiful scenery. We've got beautiful people. We take it for granted. I'm sitting here, me and you, such a culturally, different backgrounds.
Yeah.
You go to Switzerland, everyone's the same.
It's the same
You go to
thing,
Holland,
yeah.
the same thing. Yeah, man, we've got, how many different languages we've got in the country? 24. We've got Indians, we've got Africans, we've got Greece, we've got Jews. Beautiful. And it made me sad to see the country where it's going. And
Do you think it's fixable?
I think it is. I think the biggest problem in South Africa is that we've got a population that's uninvolved in politics. And I looked at the landscape, I couldn't believe how few people vote. I think 16 million people vote.
Out of 55 million, that's a lot.
They've given up. Guys, we elect our leaders, and they must be accountable to us. We don't work for them. They work for us, our country. We must take control. And so I worked hard on trying to get voter registration up. And I think once, when our nation realizes that we control this country, and if people don't do what they're supposed to do, we'll kick them off, and we'll put more other people in place, because we've got the resources. There's no reason why this country shouldn't do well. There's no reason why our GDP shouldn't be $10,000, $15,000 per capita. There's no reason.
Sure. I tell you what, I'll commit. Next election, we'll have a drive where we are teaching people the reason why they need to be voting, why it's important for them to get involved in politics. In the last election, I did have a conversation with Howie Sexton.
Yes, I know Howie.
Yeah, we had a conversation right here on the platform. We talked politics.
A good man.
Very good man. So I'm committing to that. And I think we share that our hearts are in the right place when it comes to that. We're in the same place where I also just want our country to do well, honestly speaking.
You want our people to do well.
Absolutely.
You don't want 60% unemployment with the youth. They've got such potential, and then I have the opportunity to express it.
Yeah. And I mean, I think people like you that have taken the risks, taken the opportunities, created work for people. If you build a shopping center in one place, there's economic activity that happens there. People get employed. People have a place to buy. It's stimulated. So we need more. If we could multiply you, even 1,000, I think there would be a lot of impact. You know, if just 1,000 people watching this can take up the mindset.
And just a last message, you said, what am I excited about? I'm very excited about AI. I think that a lot of the guys out there can leapfrog, can democratize a lot of things in terms of like small businesses and stuff. So I encourage the young guys, go out there and use ChatGPT in many different ways. Just learn. You cannot believe how powerful that is. And I think it's going to change the world more than anything in the last 20 years.
Sure. And I've realized a lot of people use ChatGPT like Google. They don't go deep. They just use it to ask, write me a script, do this. But they need to be using it.
You can do so much more, and you can do so much more on it. I mean, I asked ChatGPT to suggest 5 business models for me, knowing my background, just to test it.
Yeah.
Well, it was amazing.
And it knows you.
It says, well, Nick, you've got a history in financial markets. Maybe you can do a trading model and you can sell that, or a model to teach people how to trade, and I can help you do that.
Yeah. So if you didn't have any money at all, what would you do to start making money tomorrow?
In this day and age, not property.
Couldn't do property.
I think now tech. I would look at something in the tech field, because I just think that's the future. I'm involved in the tech business, and I've
So you start Atprop.
Atprop. I think a platform business.
Yeah.
I think a platform business is great because you can affect a lot of people's lives positively, and you can do it at scale.
Sure.
You talk about scale. The easiest way to scale is tech.
Yes. It's more than just money. Or finish the sentence. It's more than just money. It's.
That was me.
You finishing the sentence.
In my own words.
Yeah. It's more. So I'm starting it.
Okay.
It's more than just money, and then it's
enjoying the journey along the way.
It's enjoying the journey along the way.
Yeah.
All right. So if you were to speak to a young guy watching now, through that camera, he's black or white, Indian, Jewish, Greek, whatever, and he's saying, I don't know what I would do. I'm not as privileged, because maybe they think you've got white privilege. I'm not as smart, because actually listening to you, I think you're one of the smartest people I've spoken to. Maybe somebody is seeing the same thing. Like, geez, I'm not as smart as this guy. Or I don't have this, or I don't have that. But I want to change my life. I want a better life for myself. What do you think I should do, Nick? What would you say to that guy?
Wherever you get the opportunity to work, it doesn't matter how menial the job is. When I was an accountant, I made sure I was the best accountant I could be. Just do your best. Be ethical. Be kind, be friendly, be honest. And you'll get your chance. Somewhere, somehow, someone will see that. Because not everyone's got the opportunity to say, okay, well, go and start a tech business. You can only start small and just do those things. And that's the best base you can have.
Well, thank you for that. You've got an amazing story, very interesting. I would want to continue, but I know how busy you are. It took us 7 months to get this interview.
Busy or lazy, I don't know.
So I know how busy you are. We've had cancellations, We've had, at some point, I needed to come to your house in Cape Town and it didn't work out. You needed to come to Joburg. Your flight was delayed. You had to.
I come from overseas.
You flew from overseas.
My
you
flight
took-
was cancelled.
So I know how busy you are, and I appreciate you taking time, not only to share with me, because I benefit as well from having the conversation, but for you to be willing that the story can be on this platform and other people can benefit from it and take lessons from it. Do you have any closing words? But before you give me closing words, I'd like you to recommend someone for us to interview next. Let's put them on the spot. Who do you think I should interview next?
Can I think about it?
Yeah.
Can I think about it? First, in closing words, I want to say one of the main reasons I came here is to support your podcast, and also if I could just send one positive message to one person or two people that get it, and help their lives. That makes it, worth all the while. In terms of someone to interview, I need to think about that, and I'll give you a list.
You'll give me a
Not
list.
this one, I'll give you a list.
Okay. And you'll give them a call and say, go to this guy's podcast. I think that works
I won't
better.
even give them a choice.
In a
I'll
list,
say-
in a list that works better. You know, Ronan, when he gave me your number,
Yeah.
he said, call Nick, he's going to agree because I recommended you.
That was also a reason. It was another reason. That was another reason I did it. Renan, you, and putting a positive message out there.
Appreciate you. So thank you so much for coming through
Thank you.
to the It's More Than Just Money podcast. I'm also inspired to go to gym because I can see you're 51, 52,
Yeah.
but you're still fit. As you were saying 1994, I'm like, 1994, I was 5. How was this guy buying property when I was 5? But it's because you're taking good care of yourself and you're going to gym. And it's quite an inspiration. I hope it's an inspiration to you. If you're watching this, that was my conversation with the co-founder of Africrest, and he's done a lot of businesses, man. I wish we could have gotten into all of them, but because of time, we're not able to. Hopefully, in the next coming years, we'll sit again and have a more expanded conversation, and perhaps we'll look into him funding some of your businesses. We don't know. I mean, he's a venture capitalist. So if you've got amazing business ideas, perhaps over the years we'll organize that for you. We are committed to growing the country, helping you, and we're glad for people like him who are also willing to contribute to the movement. From my team and I, broadcasting from Johannesburg, South Africa, it's More Than Just Money. We'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for watching. Remember to click on that like button and that subscribe button. Share this video so that as many people's lives can be impacted. And the best way to repay him, perhaps go out and support Africrest. Take your kid to Centennial Schools. You heard all the great, amazing plans that they have for the youth. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.
Amazing. Thank you, Nick.
Yeah.